Welcome to the NAPE YouTube channel. Today I want to highlight 3 videos especially produced for you from the NAPE National Conference of this year. Now the video links are obtainable from the NAPE National Office, and all you have to pay is £10 for all 3, or if you are a member of NAPE, £5. It's a real bargain. Now these videos cover science education and sustainability, philosophy in primary education, and what imaginative leaps can we make in curriculum design going into the future. The videos were presented by 3 leading academic specialists in their areas in front of a student audience at Leeds Trinity. The ideas that they came up with can be applied in the classroom. I will now highlight with video clips each talk. The first presentation was given by Professor Lee Hoth. Now Lee is Interim Dean of the University and spoke about a curriculum of hope. And this was in line with the overall conference title of Curriculum at the Crossroads, Time for an Imaginative Leap. Now Lee specialises in science education, and her topics included, which sometimes included audience participation, climate literacy and change, science literacy, perceptions of sustainability by pupils and the public, net zero and climate change. Here are a few video clips which covered those areas.
The meaning of net zero. So it's that balancing of human emissions and removals of carbon dioxide. Okay. So it's not a particularly complicated definition, but actually there's a heck of a lot of going on. The bit that we can see of this sheet, what is it that we need our children and young people to know? Now, whether that's about climate change, whether that's about science, whether it's about geography, history, art. Okay? We have got that core bit of knowledge. But beneath that, there's a whole lot of stuff goes on when we're teaching. So if we think about actually how are we contextualising that, how are we doing it in a way that deepens that understanding? What are the experiences that we're giving our children and young people? How are we providing motivation for them to learn? How are we making those connections with the abstract world? All of these things are really, really difficult. So, there are various things, I'm not going to labour these, you will see these at some point, but this sense of actually the language that we have and the vocabulary that we are focused on. Again, we're built on science, but actually there's subject-specific vocabulary in everything that we do. But actually then really focusing on that and making sure that our children go away with clear understandings of the language that we are using.
The second presentation was given by Dr. Amy Quickfall. Amy is head of the Teacher Education Department of the University. Her title for the talk was Philosophy and the Curriculum. Amy examined the use and value of philosophy as part of the curriculum and cited some positive research of 2016 explaining why we should be teaching philosophy. She then followed this by some really useful practical ideas in the classroom for stimulating critical thought.
School's massive study, had 1 hour of philosophy a week, and they found that over the year, and this I think threw some people, but their ability in reading and maths and writing improved over that year. Even though in a philosophy session you don't really do a lot of reading. You might read a sentence. You don't do any maths generally, and you don't really do a lot of writing. You might note down a couple of words. So how was that happening? How was this session, which a lot of people might look at as a waste of an hour out of your timetable, how was it doing this? And they found that particularly, and this was really exciting for me because I was working in a school where there was massive disadvantage. The disadvantaged pupils, which they defined as free school meals children, saw a huge increase in their outcomes in testing. So their reading skills improved by 4 months in a year, so an extra 4 months on top of that year of teaching. Their maths by 3 months and their writing by 2 months. This is by doing no reading, maths or writing. Amazing, right? So teachers also reported, and this is a separate paper, but also reported that pupils' confidence had gone up, They were more patient with each other, and I've seen this in group after group that I've worked with. Their self-esteem improved, as well as their raw test results. So you can see why I was excited, right? And there's loads of research out there that backs this up. So this is not just one study that's shown this. Topping and Tricky found that there's a lasting impact. So if you do philosophical inquiry sessions 2 years later, when those children were in secondary school, they could still see a difference between the children that had done that and the children that hadn't. So it's not a short-term thing that you then lose as soon as you stop. I'm sure the philosophy graduates in the room will agree. Philosophy has changed their lives, changed the way you think of breaking that idea. So very generally, there are some questions that have easy answers. This is how I explain it to children. This is how I explained it to my early years and Key Stage 1 philosophy club. This is how I explained it to their parents. There are some questions that are really easy to answer. Okay, so you'll have answers to those pretty much straight away, in seconds. Do you like Brussels sprouts? Who likes Brussels sprouts? Yeah. Oh, wow. That's not very many people. Who likes milkshakes? Yeah. We love milkshakes. There's not a massive debate there. You might have a bit of a discussion about, well, you're wrong because milkshakes are awful, but there's not a huge scope for debate. And this is part of philosophical inquiry, is finding the best questions. So there are some questions that have loads of answers. So will there ever be robot teachers? There are loads of different answers you could give to that. There are loads of different reasons you could give why there might be, why there might not be, whether it'd be good, whether it'd be morally correct, what would happen to us all. Could there be plants and animals on other planets? Children have all sorts of ideas, just like we do, about the possibilities there.
The final keynote lecture featured NAPE's president, Professor Mick Walters. The title of his talk echoed the conference title. He talked about how people should learn and the silly arguments put forward by the educational community on whether it is possible to have standards and enjoyment or depth and width. Mick then went on to promote a long list of what a future curriculum tasks must be, such as expose and enrich talent or encourage a global outlook. Here are a few of his clips.
Well, I don't know how you feel about it, but I have sat there, just there, and I have thought I'm so glad I've been here. When they announce this new curriculum next week, they'll say these are the proposals, we're going to consult. And we'll have all these silly arguments. You know, should we teach knowledge or should we teach skills? Actually, you need both, don't you? You need knowledge to learn skills. You need skills to learn knowledge. They're trivial arguments. When the new curriculum comes out, or in every school you go in, there'll be a curriculum. And it's a curriculum for the school, and then there's a curriculum for subjects, and then there's a sort of scheme of work. Sometimes they try and tart it up by calling it a scheme of learning, but actually it's just what you've got to plough through. Sometimes you get a syllabus. It all gets distorted. There's the planned curriculum, that's what that is, the documents. Then that gets turned into the taught curriculum. So you get a scheme of work or a scheme of learning, and then you make it into what you're going to teach. And then it becomes what the children get. So what happens is it either stays coherent and they get what you planned, or it gets distorted on the way. And what will happen with the new national curriculum, there'll be loads in it about helping children to learn to talk better. Oracy will be in it, right? More oracy in the classroom. Philosophy for children's got a chance, right? What happens is it gets distorted on the way. So the teachers teach, they look at the planned curriculum. Usually it's too big. There's too much to teach. So they teach what's tested. They teach what's inspected. They teach what you know about. They teach what you like teaching. And they teach what children enjoy. They leave the rest out because it's too much. So you leave out.
We hope you enjoyed watching these video clips. And of course, we hope that you will take advantage of the special offer of seeing all 3 videos post the conference. If you do, then you need to email the office, and office will give you instructions how to receive the video link. Thank you for watching.